Hello, good evening, everyone, and welcome to today's lecture of Saturday Talk series. Today we have Shruti Varma ma'am. Shruti ma'am is a psychotherapist holding a master's degree in counseling physiology from Delhi University, diploma in human emotions and emotional intelligence from Wharton School, University of Pennsylvania. Ma'am has done diploma in dialectical behavior therapy from Center of Excellence, UK. As a therapist, ma'am practices in India and she is also registered with British Associate for Counselors and Physiotherapists, a BACP. Her specialization in therapy is in cognitive behavioral therapy and dialectical behavioral therapy. As a therapist, Shruti ma'am deals with a wide range of issues. She has several adult and adolescent clients who she has helped with stress, anxiety, depression, low confidence, anger management, emotional wellness, and grief counseling. She is also a corporate trainer and coach. Shruti ma'am has been working with corporate clients through her company Mind Openers to train in emotional intelligence, stress management, confidence building, emotional health and wellness, mental health, how anxiety, depression shows up in workplaces.
Namaskar, everybody. Today I chose the topic Beyond Asanas, the Chakras learning for conscious leadership. Now, I want to start by saying that I'm a yoga sadhak, sadhika. I don't claim to know every single thing about yoga. It's a very vast subject, but I do try to learn something little every single day. And because I have been teaching emotional intelligence and a lot of topics from Western psychology, but when I start reading the Indian scriptures, especially the Yoga Sutras and other related texts on Hatha Yoga and stuff like that, I realized that I haven't really come across too many Western concepts which are not present in our Indian scriptures. So that's when I started taking these learnings, and I felt that these need to be taught. I'm sure a lot of you already know some amount of this. And if somebody knows something which is not being spoken about here, I'd be very happy for you also to contribute in this particular session, because as I said, it's a vast subject and one person cannot really know every single thing in one lifetime. So with that, let's get into the topic for today. So I want to begin by the quote that leadership is not just a skill, it's a state of being. What I mean by that statement is that, typically we speak of leadership in terms of skill sets. Like, a leader should have great communication skills, he should have strategic thinking, he should know how to delegate and not micromanage, and so on. But I feel like leadership goes into a lot deeper states. It's not just about what you do, but actually who you are. So I've tried to describe a little bit on what I mean by that statement. So a leader is somebody who operates from a core set of beliefs and value systems, right? His every single action and decision is grounded in those values. The leader is very self-aware, which means that we are aware, and this is it's a continuous process. I guess we all learn a little about it every single day. We learn about our emotions, triggers, and the impact that it has on other people. Then we show up from a place of authenticity, which means that just because we are named the leader or the CEO or some high designation in an organization, doesn't really mean that we are meant to just perform a role, but truly bring our authentic self into that space. And we are going to learn a little bit more about this authentic self. Somebody who's present, which means that we are not reactive with our teams, but we are really engaged in that moment to listen and respond wisely and not merely react to the stimulus which is coming our way. And a leader is purpose driven, which means that you come from a space of a vision that is not just to serve the objectives of the company or ourselves, but the entire team as a whole. So that exactly is the space that we feel that we should strive to go towards every single day, because getting to a good leadership space of being is also a journey. It's not something whether you are or not, but you take small steps to get there every single day. I want to take a minute to reframe how we understand yoga in our lives. Now, when we say yoga, we typically think of yoga studios or somebody like Baba Ramdev teaching us some asana practice. But the fact is that asanas are less than 1/8 of entire yoga, and yoga is actually a psycho spiritual science. It's not just asanas. Asanas are there, they are also quite important, but they are very small part of what overall yoga really is. And real yoga means that we are mastering ourselves, our thoughts, our sense organs, our being. Because if we look at how Maharishi Patanjali starts the Yoga Sutras, if nobody minds, I'll just narrate a couple of Sanskrit shlokas. So he starts the second shloka by saying, Yogas Chitta Vritti Nirodha, which means a lot of us don't understand Sanskrit. I'm also not a Sanskrit master. But what it means is yoga is to, Nirodha means to stop or reduce the vrittis, and vrittis means our emotions and thoughts, because we have so many thoughts, so many emotions that we have every single day. The real yoga means that we get a control, a handle on those thoughts. If we read the commentary by Swami Vivekananda, he has given an example just to, or an analogy just to explain it to us on what that shloka really means. Yoga Chitta Vritti Nirodha is that, imagine our mind is like a body of a water body, right? And a thought is like a little pebble, or an external event that happens is like a little pebble. So which means that there are a lot of ripples that are caused in that calm water body, which means that every single time that an event or a thought happens, there are ripples, and we can't really control that ripples until we are really masters at controlling, because that also needs constant practice to get all our thoughts and emotions in order. So mastery of those thoughts, of emotions, is what yoga really is. And just to tell you why I wrote 1/8 of yoga is asanas, because Maharishi Patanjali said that yoga begins with yama, niyama, which means certain disciplines, certain cleansing activities of our body and mind. And then we come to asana, followed by pranayam, pratyahar, which is withdrawal of our senses, followed by dharana, holding attention, dhyan, getting into an attentive mode, and then samadhi, so which is an extreme deep state of meditation, right? So that background was necessary to get into what we are going to talk about now. Now, conscious leadership, the topic for today, it needs a blueprint, because the old leadership has been about power. I'm more powerful than the rest of my team, or I need to control how things are happening. It is logic based. But the thing is that conscious leadership is way beyond that. It means that it requires us to be present in those moments 100%, use our intuition, our insight, and master those emotions. So what is being said is emotional intelligence plus our internal alignment creates a long-term impact, and that's what conscious leadership can be thought of. Now let's get into the chakra system. I'm sure everybody's heard of chakras, and I generally use this just as a framework to understand things better. And I usually look at it as 7 chakras equals 7 dimensions of leadership. Now I want to say that there are 7 chakras, and a lot of texts such as Shatachakra Nirupan and a lot of other texts, they have described chakras in a certain fashion. These 7 dimensions of leadership are my personal interpretation of how we can use it in our work life, in our organizations, because they represent a bridge between our inner growth and outer action. What I mean by inner growth and outer action is that a lot of knowledge which is out there on the internet talks about mantra chanting, meditation, and so on for our inner growth. But the thing is that there are certain actions which are also associated with each chakra. We can't just do meditation, but our chakra, our actions in the real world outside don't correspond, and we are taking incorrect actions or immoral actions, then that meditation is not going to help us in any way whatsoever. Right? That's what I mean by inner growth as well as outer action. Now, I want to explain a little bit about what chakras really are, because this is a question which I get asked quite a lot. Are chakras physical? Where are they located? So, this is how the yoga looks at our entire being, right? Yoga, we are not just a physical body, is what yoga posits, but we are panchakosha, which means that we have these 5 layers to our existence. Right, the gross body or the first outer layer of the body is called the Annamaya Kosh. Annamaya literally means, Anna means food or grains, and Maya is the sheath or the covering. So literally the outer body which is made of food. The other way to understand is that, a child becomes an adult, the whole body is becoming an adult body basis the nutrition he is consuming or she's consuming, which is actually made from food. So literally this body becomes from this to a full grown adult based on the food we consume, and that's why it's called the Annamaya Kosh. The second one is our Pranamaya Kosh. Prana means there is a universal energy, and that universal energy is present in us as well, which is represented through a breath. So prana is not breath, but breath is a proof that there is prana inside us. Then the second layer of our being is the Manomaya Kosh. And within this Manomaya Kosh exists our, let's say, 5 senses, which means that we are gathering data from the world through the Manomaya Kosh. And then we have the Vijnanmaya Kosh, which is the wisdom sheath, which means that all the data that's coming to us through the Manomaya Kosh is getting processed and we are gaining wisdom out of it in the Vijnanmaya Kosh. And then we come to the last sheath, which is the minutest, most subtle sheath, is called the Anandamaya Kosh. And for easier understanding, let's call it the soul for lack of better explanation at this point. So this is the structure that yoga tells us, that these are the 5 layers to our existence. So the Pranamaya Kosh is where the chakras exist, right? Which is in our energy body. Are the 5 koshas of our existence. Now, our chakras are located in the Pranamaya Kosh, which is our energy body. Since I'm speaking to a lot of people with research and science background, the obvious question is, how do we know this exists, right? It's written in certain scriptures, but now there is a certain amount of, I won't say a lot of body of scientific evidence, but this is being proved to a certain degree. And a Japanese scientist called Hiroshi Motoyama has actually tried to, he diagonally sliced the spine and the matter in the spine, and he says that whatever diagrams are mentioned in Shat Chakra Nirupan is something that you can see at a very subtle level. And he's also innovated this little gadget which is called the apparatus for meridian identification, which can actually measure the energy or the prana flowing within the body, because the Chinese and the Japanese also have an equivalent of prana, which is called the chi and the ki. And after that, a lot of aura scanners have also come about, which can tell you how balanced or imbalanced your chakras are, right? So there is a certain body of science which is going into it. And I want to spend 2 minutes on how we can, what are the kind of things we can do or actions we can take to better our roots or to strengthen our Muladhara chakra, put it more in balance. The first is that never work for money, always work for excellence. Because as they say, if you work for excellence, money always follows, right? There is this thing which is very misunderstood. We've all heard of Goddess Lakshmi. Now we pray to Goddess Lakshmi thinking that we will get certain abundance of money. But it's a rarely known fact that Lakshmi comes from the root word Lakshya, which means our goal. So in a sense, Goddess Lakshmi is also asking us to work towards our goal in a way that, propagates excellence, and money automatically comes if we have that attitude. The second way to grow better roots is because root chakra is all about our physical body, respecting our physical body and doing everything that's associated with it, which means that we look after our nutrition, not binge too much. We look after our, do some kind of physical activity to keep it healthy and consume wholesome food. Those are the two ways in which we can ensure that we feel stable and grounded in this life. Okay, so we now progress. As we said, there are 7 different chakras. We progress to the second chakra. Now, second chakra is called the Swadhisthana chakra. Swadhisthana, if I break down the Sanskrit words, it means swa, swadi, swa, sthan, which means swa means myself and sthan means a place. So which means it's a place where I reside, my own identity resides. Okay. So what this particular thing means is that knowing your identity, recognizing your identity. In the larger scheme of things, what it means is that a lot of times parents push kids away from their identity. If a child wants to be a painter, the parents will push, no, our whole family is of doctors, so you should be a doctor. The child, if he is meant to be a painter, will never excel as a doctor, right? So that's the whole thing about knowing your identity. This chakra is also about our emotional sense of self, and why that's important to know is that we also get to know our identity through our emotions. So for example, if I feel passion when I'm drawing something or painting something or creating a piece of pottery, I'm either feeling passionate or I'm feeling repelled or bored or something. If I'm feeling joy in something, which means those are parts of my identity. If I am, for example, very comfortable at a party and interacting with a lot of people, which means a part of my identity is an extrovert. But if I'm very happy being with myself, which means I need little social interaction and I'm an introvert. So paying attention to your emotions is a way of knowing yourself. So emotions are not something random, but they are information that tell us about our own likes, dislikes, and they carry a whole lot of other data. Once you start paying attention to it, it'll always tell you what your identity is. So this particular chakra is all about paying attention to your emotions and discovering your own identity, right? And there is a certain creativity that comes out of this chakra as well, because in a sense, whatever our identity is, in a sense, we are creating something, right? Even as engineers, you're also creating something, whatever that might be. If you are working with ISRO, then you're developing technology in that regard. If I am a psychotherapist, then I'm using creativity to talk better to my patients, and so on and so forth. So creativity manifests in actually every aspect of our life. So that's broadly what this chakra is all about. And how this gets imbalanced is when we fear rejection. What that means is that a lot of times we are not completely comfortable bringing our authentic self into the world, right? Because we feel like, okay, this might not be acceptable, because as human beings, we all want to be accepted. right? But when we are extremely sure of our identity, and this also takes some work, then that fear of rejection goes away because we know who we are and what we can deliver. In terms of our leadership in our corporate space, how I've looked at is that you bring, when you're absolutely sure of your identity, what you deliver, what your likes and dislikes are, you can recognize similar things and encourage creativity and emotional expression within your workspaces also, right? And there is a term called emotional intelligence which gets thrown around a lot, right? And that also comes from this chakra only, because you get in tune with your emotional space and not dismiss it, because emotions are, as I said, are not something to be dismissed but paid attention to, so we can recognize our own self a little bit better, right? Just to explain this a little bit better, if I'm a flower, I, through my emotions and identity discovery, I need to discover, am I a petunia? Am I a chrysanthemum? Am I a rose? What exactly am I? And my attitudes and emotions towards this space will govern how I discover my identity, right? If I'm supposed to be a chrysanthemum, then I need to be in a puja thali. If I'm a rose, I'm supposed to do something else, maybe be in a vase or something like that as a decoration. So our emotions dictate our identity. Our identity describes to us how we are going to or what we are going to create in the world, right? That's how we'll look at it. I think we've already discussed, so I'm going to skip over this slide. So in terms of how we can better our Swadhisthana chakra is, I would say, be an emotion scientist also, along with the scientist that you already are, and pay attention to whatever happens and notice, make some time in your day to notice, am I feeling angry? Anger means that there is something unjust in the situation and I need to go fight. Is this giving me joy? It means it's part of my identity and I can do more of it. Am I feeling disgust? It means that I need to get away from it. It's not good for my well-being. So become an emotional scientist so you can discover your own self also a little bit. Okay. We move on to the third chakra, which is the Manipur chakra. And this chakra is all about your confidence, your personal power, right? And if I literally translate the Sanskrit word Manipura, Mani means power or jewel that has certain powers, and Pura is city. So which means that within ourselves, it's the city of our personal power, right? It's a place that we draw our confidence. Now, if you see, all these chakras are interlinked. They don't operate in isolation from each other. In terms of the leadership domain, it is about learning to get away from self-doubt and come out with confidence, because when you're sure of your identity, which means that you're sure of your skill sets, what you're good at, what you're not good at, you can discover a certain inner authority and present yourself in a confident manner to the world. Now, this is that something that I've seen a lot while coaching in certain organizations, that when we are unsure, we can't be assertive, right? We are either too passive or we are too aggressive. But power, personal power and confidence means that we are assertive in the world and we are not trying to rule over somebody in our leadership also, because a lot of times leaders think that they can bully over people, but that's not really true leadership. Or they will be like, I don't want to displease my team, so let me just listen. But true power is discovering your authentic identity and vision and coming into your power and confidence and creating a good team around that particular vision. So how do you nurture your personal power and your confidence? I think the way to do this is that you don't want to be too submissive, you don't want to be too aggressive, but in order to be assertive, you need to treat every single relationship as a partnership. In a partnership, both the partners or all the partners are bringing something to the table. Nobody is superior, nobody is inferior. but we are all playing a role, we are all delivering certain value. If you think of every interaction like a partnership, then nobody can actually become aggressive or assertive, because every partnership by its very definition is an equal space. Okay, so the next or the fourth chakra is Anahat chakra. It's also called the heart chakra. This chakra is all about unconditional and pure love. What it means is that when we the thing is, in this world today there is a lot of mistrust. There is no implicit trust that, okay, if you're saying something, I trust that you're going to deliver on it. When we don't have trust in people, this is the chakra that gets blocked, and as a result our leadership cannot be empathetic, because how can we have empathy or team cohesion when I don't trust the people that I'm working with? So in order to open this chakra, have meaningful relationships in the world, I need to have empathy and cohesion and connection and compassion for every single person in my team, right? So in order to enhance emotional attunement and allowing for deeper connections and building trust, it's important to balance this particular chakra, right? And what are the things that we can do in order to balance this chakra is, I'd like you to remember one thing, that we are known in this world not by what we take from it, but what we give to it, right? If you look at any world leader, let's take Gandhi ji. It's not about what he took from India, but he gave us the freedom. So we are always known by what we have given and never what we have received, right? So create intentions, positive intentions, by what we are going to, by what you're going to give to the world through your company, through your work, and remove attachments, which means that don't be attached to every single thing that can come, because if you've created positive intentions, things will come, right? So honor your dreams by what you want to create and leave mistrust, but go into the situation by what I call trusting with open eyes. It doesn't mean that, if somebody has mistreated you, deceived you, just blindly trust somebody, but go into it with open eyes, which means that if you've been deceived, then it was meant to give you a lesson. See what that lesson is so that you don't repeat that whole mistake once again. The fifth chakra is called the Vishuddhi chakra. Now, Vishuddhi literally means V means in all directions, and Shuddhi means purification. So which means that we need to purify our whole self, our thought, and not hold any negative thoughts about ourselves, about other people, so that we can, when we interact with the world through our communication, it's our pure thoughts and good communication that goes out. This is something I thought our Prime Minister, demonstrated a very important aspect of this chakra, and this is a social media post that I had written, and if you can't read it, I'll just read it out to you. I wrote that Prime Minister Modi's response to the provocation has often reflected the qualities of a balanced Agya chakra, or the third eye chakra, associated with inner clarity, vision, and intuition in yogic psychology. Instead of reacting from ego or impulse, he has shown restraint and strategic foresight, particularly in the measured actions he has taken against Pakistan. This is not the response of a reactive leader, but of one who is anchored in purpose and inner alignment. That's how the third eye chakra plays out in our real life. It is the basis of our vision and intuition. Now, and what it helps us do in business is take the right decision. Now, as a little tip on how we can take the right decision, there is a Vedic concept of Priya versus Shreya. There are many decisions which we need to take in our day, and we can go through it with this lens. Most of our, I would say 70% of decisions. The word Priya means something that feels good right now. It's giving me pleasure to take this particular decision right now. If I take an everyday example, if I'm very hungry, there is a pizza that comes in front of me versus fruit or salad that comes in front of me. If I'm operating through Priya, I'm going to go for the pizza. If I'm operating through Shreya, I'll go for the salad, which means that Priya is something that's giving me pleasure right now. Shreya is something that might be a little difficult right now or not as pleasurable, but I know it's good for me in the long run. So this is one way to build our intuition and take the right decisions, basically. The last chakra is called the Sahasrar chakra. I will not go too much into it because a lot of our scriptures talk only about the first six chakras, and only a couple of them talk about the Sahasrar chakra, because this is more to do with divinity, opening our and connecting with the universal consciousness. But literally Sahasrar means 1,000 petals. Actually, Sahas doesn't even mean 1,000, it just means millions and millions and several. And it's got to do, if I talk in terms of our everyday existence and how we can look at business, this is about abundance, right? It is about having hope of a bright future. It is about our connection with the universe. In terms of business or our everyday thing, it gets blocked when we are always afraid of losing control. If somebody does something, we have a big problem in surrendering or letting go of situations, right? These are the things or fears that control or narrow the scope of this chakra. But if we really let it out open and release the illusions of control, that I need to control this person, it will just flow and you'll get into a space of spiritual leadership, because that if I have set this, I've brought my authentic self, I've taken good decisions, I've dealt with my team in an empathetic way, the whole team is with me, then I can just let go and have faith in the universe that everything will come together, because I've done my karma, I've done the actions that I needed to take. In terms of how it impacts opening of this chakra, how it impacts our leadership, is that it brings us in a sense of humility. It connects us to a higher purpose, that this purpose or this work that I'm doing, it's not just about serving my own egoic needs, it's not just about money, but it's serving in some way a larger well-being for the employee, the company, the society at large, or even humankind, right? So which means, to open this particular chakra, we need to go beyond our ego, and we need to get into every single thing through that it's I have with the attitude of serving other people, right? And one way is to keep this chakra balanced and connect with the consciousness of the cosmos, is to honor your life and all its gifts through gratitude. Just to kind of recapture, I've put in this slide, the root chakra gives you stability and groundedness. The sacral chakra gives you creativity, self-discovery, emotional intelligence. The solar plexus or the Manipur chakra, it gives you confidence and decision making. The Anahat or the heart chakra gives you empathy, compassion for the team. The throat chakra or the Vishuddhi chakra helps you communicate with authenticity. The third eye or the Agya chakra helps you build vision and intuition. And the final, which is the crown chakra or the Sahasrar chakra, it helps you build higher purpose, and that takes you into conscious leadership. That's all from me. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
How does I'm not sure you're a music fan, but how does music affect the chakras? Because the type of music one hears, what is the
Right.
chakra that gets affected by it? And can you bring about a change by listening to music and indirectly affecting the chakras? So can you advise on that?
Sir, everything affects the chakras, absolutely 100%. And in fact, there is a very large body of work currently which talks about especially the Hindustani classical, the Carnatic music, classical music, and that has an amazing effect on at least the research is done for anxiety, for depression, but definitely there are a lot of researches also happening on sound therapy for chakras. So I would say, barring these hard rock and this devilish music, every other form of music, especially Hindustani classical, especially Carnatic music, those are very beneficial overall. But having said that, sir, I'm not an expert. I'm not an expert in sound therapy, but there is a very large body of work in sound therapy also, which is happening.
Because temple bells also affect the chakras probably in some way.
Absolutely.
What part of the chakras affect, we are not sure. Probably the conking and the bells also make an effect.
100%, sir. 100%. As I said, we know that certain kinds of music is good for us. In fact, chakras are just a framework, right? And if you notice that when we practice our prayers or meditation, it's called sadhana, right? When musicians practice their work, that is also called sadhana, right? So the word is the same, and so definitely it has certain spiritual benefits.
First time I learned a lot from you about chakra. Of course, I heard some places, I saw the picture and they put all the chakras and other things. Without knowing the chakras, I have become 8 years old now. I would like to know, maybe in childhood, my mother used to tell, don't do that, this, and you do only good thing and all those things. So because of that, the chakras are getting balanced, or controlling the chakra, we will become better. Which way it is connected? Because without knowing the chakras, millions of people born and already they are all going. So right. What way the leaders or scientists now whether they have to control the chakra or chakra will control us?
In our consciousness, the chakras can't control us. We are conscious beings, right? Yeah. So we do the right thing. So for example, after every chakra, I went through some small tip on how you can balance the chakra better, right? Like in Muladhara chakra, the first chakra, we talked about looking after our physical body and trying to excel at work rather than working only for money. Because when we are always chasing money, our Muladhara chakra is getting blocked. Right?
Okay.
But so we are conscious souls. So our consciousness or soul has to do the right action in order to balance the chakra. Thank you.